Welcome, NFL. Week 1, 2021 season. We finally made it here. It is Bankster DFS NFL live before Week 1. My name is Doug Shane, joined by Michael Gudadero at The Big Gouda. I am at Bankster17. Folks, we are representing Bankster DFS. We are your home for everything DFS. Geez, I do this promo every day, and I already forgot what I want to say, Gouda. That's how you know it's Week 1, Gouda. I already forgot the promo. Folks, at BanksterDFS.com. We cover everything sports. We're not just an NFL site. We have all the major sports, all the college sports, niche sports, Slack chat, daily articles, player pools, $3.99 a week. Get you coverage to everything. Also, check out our YouTube page. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and click the notification icon so you know when we go live. We do daily videos, the no glitz, no glamour daily videos, because I don't know how to edit or make anything look pretty. So we're just worrying about content. So it's no glitz, no glamour. And then, of course, our weekly live streams here with myself and the Big Gouda. Gouda, how's it going? Welcome to football season, dude.
I'm fantastic. I am ready to go and have another big year like we did last year.
I'm super excited for NFL season this year. Like, week one's weird because I feel like we're always preparing. It's like we're over prepared sometimes for week one. So there's a little bit of nerves with that, right? But I feel good about it. I feel like we have taken a new look at things, the way that we do our fantasy this year, and the way that we're looking at contest sizes and how we're putting our lineups together and all the things that we're doing. And I feel like we're in a good spot this year for NFL season. What are you kind of looking forward to with this week one? Like, I know we said we talk about our player pools. We're going to get into our cash pool in a second and our GPPs, but like, what are you most looking forward to this week as we hit week one NFL season?
You mean aside from the Jets' new Hall of Fame quarterback?
Already starting with the Jets. Starting with the Jets. I absolutely love that we're there already.
I would say, I mean, a couple of things. I mean, definitely the year two guys. You know, there's a lot of guys from last year's class that were looking to, see a big leap forward and their first full training camp, how it might help them and kind of elevate them. Also with this year's rookie class, I mean, there's a lot of hyped guys. There's a lot of guys that we're kind of targeting in different ways this week, and a lot of potential there. And I think just in general, what the games are going to look like now with the crowds back. Last year was one of, if not the highest scoring season ever in the NFL. Scoring was up. A lot of the QB wide receiver chalks didn't bust as often as they had in the past. And I think a lot of that had to do with no crowds, easier communication, especially for the road team. So I wonder if we're going to see a change with that now that we got, basically full capacity across the NFL stadiums again. And if the crowd noise really plays into it. I mean, it didn't affect the Cowboys much Thursday night, but, you've got a quarterback like Dak Prescott. That's, could be a little bit of a different story too. But, I think that's going to be one big thing to see kind of where that goes and what impact that might have on things.
Yeah, I like. I'm really interested to see how all of that works out. I just think too, we've been making all these predictions and the hype and this guy and that guy and who's going to pop in week one. I'm just interested to get there and see it happen. You know what I mean? I am so ready to see how things are going to go. Because you've just been talking about right there's no week you prepare for more than week one because the prices have been out for over a month. We've been playing preseason, a lot of preseason, and damn, I'm just ready to see how it goes. Just a friendly reminder, if you are watching us on YouTube or on Twitter, the chat box is open, and we've already got a number of friends in saying hello. Good morning to Brandon and Big Matt and Kent. So happy to see you guys in there. Make sure you retweet if you see our link on there so we get more friends in the chat. Do not hesitate to put your questions in the chat box, and make sure to like, share, subscribe, click that notification icon. I'm going to say that a lot. I think it makes my daughter happy when I say it. One more thing, too, before we get into our cash game picks for DraftKings. Don't forget, too, we have a partnership with PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks.com is an awesome site that's basically like running a parlay card, a props, individual player props parlay card where you make 2 to 5 picks and over-unders on all sorts of categories, all sorts of sports. Obviously, we're looking at NFL today. If you sign up using the promo code Bankster, you get 100% first-time deposit bonus up to $100. We have plays for Prize Picks for our members. You can see it hopefully popping up on, well, it's not popping up because I didn't open it on the screen yet. Now it's open on the screen. There's our prizepicks.com plays. You can take a peek at those now, but Bankster DFS members get to see those. We update those daily for all the sports that we cover. Even threw some disc golf plays in there the other day. I have a friend who actually plays disc golf with professionals a little bit on the tour, and so she has given me some plays. So, like, we have ins and outs everywhere. So prizepicks.com, promo code Bankster, 100% deposit bonus up to $100. They run a ton of cool promos. It's a lot of fun. But let's move on to the other money that we're trying to win this week. Let's talk about our cash games, team. We have got we like cash games. I've changed my philosophy. We're an 80-20 cash game to GPP site for a while. I've kind of flipped my philosophy to where I'm a little more 60-40 now, but still 60-40 with cash. And I want to make sure that we make our money playing safe cash plays. The first thing I do every week, and I know Gouda and I talk about it all the time, as the rest of Team Bankster does, we want to sit down and figure out what our pool is going to look like for the week. I've got that up on the screen now. Our safest, highest floor plays. Remember, cash games, when we talk cash games, we're talking when somewhere between 33% to 50% of the field is cashing, and you're doubling or tripling your money, triple up or a double up. And we just got to beat half the field. First place or middle of the pack. You get the same prize, so you're not trying to take a high variance play. You want high floor plays with a little bit of ceiling. In front of us right now is our pool for the week. Every week I do give in my article, Moving the Chains, our cash core. We talk about it in Slack. You can see a lot of those plays that we prefer in bold. Gouda, taking a look at my cash core. I'm going to remove this promo from the screen here. What are you seeing that you like, that you don't like, that you agree with, disagree with? Am I missing anyone? Let's start quarterbacks. Is there anyone I'm missing at quarterbacks outside of Murray, Hurts, and Mac Jones at our three price levels for cash game quarterback this week?
No, not at all. I mean, those are definitely, if you're making a cash lineup, those are the areas that you do want to target. I mean, Murray and Hurts are similar in the sense that they're going to provide you with a nice rushing floor. Hurts a little more than Murray, and Murray has more of the safety that the Cardinals are going to be throwing it way more than the Eagles will, most likely. But with that, but you make up for it with that price difference, and also too, just like I said, with the way that Hurts is going to be running, he's going to run more than Murray is anyway. Mac Jones, I mean, again, if you really want to punt the position, that's where you're going to do it. Mac Jones is not going to run, but at 4,400, that's okay. That's kind of built into the price and everything, and also the anticipation that he wasn't going to start when they released lineups, a month and a half ago. So, if you wanted to go that route to really, jam in a lot of high price guys, Jones is fine. He should be able to get you 10 to 12 points and not kill you. And if he does anything above that, it's kind of gravy, and you're getting so much more exposure on higher end guys as well.
All right, I muted myself. I was answering a question in the chat. I just think, like, I put three quarterbacks in there, but I've pretty much locked myself. I had a moment where I considered Mac Jones because I really liked what you could do with the rest of your lineup, but I didn't like it so much that it was worth giving up on the high floor that Jalen Hurts brings. And you touched on it really with comparing him to Kyler Murray. It's that rushing floor. Yeah, Murray's going to have a higher passing floor. And it's probably going to be in a game that has a little bit more scoring potential, though Philly, Atlanta should be. I don't understand the total on that game. The fact that it's not over 50 points blows my mind.
Yeah.
And maybe it has to do with some uncertainty with the Philly wide receiving core and, their offensive line, though it's better than it was last year, and Hurts' passing ability. But, I'm pretty sure that with the rushing floor, right, because Hurts is going to rush even at 30 yards with and he's got, an expected touchdown rate of maybe half a touchdown a game, maybe a little bit less. So you're looking at maybe two extra points thrown in there. You've got a floor of 5 points just from his rushing game. He doesn't need to do a ton through the air to hit 5X, and he's got so much upside on there. When push came to shove, and I wrote about this in the article this week, there's no one other than Jalen Hurts for me at quarterback. I just think you go with the safest floor, and that's him. at the best price, right? So I think we're in agreement there. Looking at the running backs, I've got a very tight pool this week of running backs, and I'm really not coming too far off of this. I think McCaffrey and Kamara we agree on as two guys that should be in our lineups. And then it's going to come down to, do we run Dalvin Cook? Wow, I spelled that wrong. I put Davlin. It's Dalvin. We're going to put – happens when you're old, man. Do we go Dalvin Cook and punt somewhere else? Do we go James Robinson and spend up a little more elsewhere? Do we go Mike Davis and spend up even further? Or I can make the argument that I think Javonte Williams at min price is worth a play. I think he's going to get half the touches for Denver against the Giants. Rush defense, not great. Vic Fangio loves him. Teddy Bridgewater has compared him to Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey type, pass catching, do everything back, decent pass blocker. So he's not going to come off the field necessarily on third down if he's the hot hand. I think there's an argument that could be made if there's something else you want to do with your lineup, get a higher priced Adams or Kelsey in your lineup, that Javonte Williams is in play. But I'm not running to do that. He's not in my lineup now. Am I missing anyone from this cash pool running back, or are we pretty tight where we're at right there?
No, I'm very tight. I mean, to be honest, I get the argument for Javonte Williams and definitely Mike Davis as well. But to be fair, I didn't even consider them this week in my own personal lineup. It was really only the top four guys, because really with those four guys, you're getting everything that you need. They're the number ones. There's really no competition for any of them for touches or third down work, anything like that. I mean, the Saints have Tony Jones, but even like last year, they didn't use Latavius Murray that much that it hampered Kamara's value. So I'm on those four guys, and even like the Dalvin Cook angle, I do prefer a little bit James Robinson, one because of the price differential, but also too, last year we consistently targeted running backs against the Texans, and it worked out pretty much every week. And the Texans actually somehow, I don't know how it's possible, they got worse in the offseason. Yeah. They're rebuilding, and they're the oldest team in the NFL and did nothing and have no rookies that stand out to say, well, okay, yeah, I can see a future with this team. So you would think the Jaguars should have an easy time with a pretty good offense that they have, and Robinson should be a huge beneficiary of that.
Yeah, there's something to be said. There's something to be said about running McCaffrey, Cook, and Kamara. It's just such a sexy lineup, and it's easy to do.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm with you on the James Robinson thing.
Yeah, there's definitely enough value, good value in wide receiver and tight end that you can jam all three of those top running backs in there and be very confident with your lineup.
Yeah, and you don't even have to go mid price with all your wide receivers. You could get a mid range, mid 4K, higher upper 4K guy in there because there's some value at tight end position, and I think there's some lower end defenses we can use, but want to be a little more well-rounded, I think. And so I'm agreeing. James Robinson's in my personal cash game lineup. I know he's in yours. I think, but I can't blame people for going old Davlin there, Dalvin Cook. I think he's a guy to go with that I think makes a lot of sense. Now, looking at the wide receiver pool, I have a larger pool, I think, than I would normally have maybe, but I want guys at all the different price ranges. I actually don't really like anyone from like 70 down to 5K. Like, I think that's a really weak area. Even in tournaments, I don't have a lot of guys in that range. We'll talk about that later where we're at in tournaments. But I think for cash, you're either going with one of the two higher price guys with Adams or Ridley. I suppose you make an argument for Steph Diggs. I don't love the matchup. Or you're just I don't say punting. You're going low priced wide receivers. Any of the Cincinnati receivers honestly makes some sense. Tyler Boyd is a guy that I know Sean, our dirty slot lover, he's all about the slot play, and Boyd is a great slot play, but he's also the most expensive of the three Cincy receivers, so I just don't think there's as much value with him as there is with a guy like T. Higgins. Jamar Chase to me is more of a tournament play. He's just, if the dropsies are real, that could be a problem. Jalen Reagor, I probably shouldn't even have him in the pool. It should probably be Devonta Smith because he's going to carry more ownership. But I do like the price of Reagor. I think being the veteran, there's a real opportunity for him to establish himself as a reliable guy early in the season for Hurts. But the guys that are in bold, for me, are my preferred plays. I probably should have bolded Marquez Callaway in there as well. He's going to be really, really widely rostered. and we want highly rostered guys at the lower price, because if they bust for everyone. So it's not the end of the world. Who am I missing? And I know in your mind I'm missing a couple of players, because I know your pool is a little bit different than mine, and you're a sharp dude. So I would love to hear who you've got, who shouldn't be in the pool, perhaps, who you like of what you're seeing there, and who am I missing?
Yeah, so I mean, with what you have, we'll start there. Personally, I mean, I do like Jalen Reagor. I think he's a touch too risky for cash, just because we really don't know what's going to happen in Philly right now from the receiver standpoint. You know, Quez Watkins made a lot of noise. They drafted Devontae Smith, who won the Heisman. They didn't trade Zach Ertz, so a lot of two tight end formations is not out of the realm of possibilities. And you know, we just don't know what target share and stuff is going to look like. So I think Rieger's a little too risky on the cash end. And then, I mean, I like the Marvin Jones play. I think Marquez Callaway almost has to be a lock in cash, just because of how chalky he's going to be. I mean, we've seen these types of things before, where, you know, these guys that we know are just going to have monster roles, whether it is a wide receiver or a running back, that they get, you know, 60, 70, even 80% in cash games. And at that point, you almost have to have him in your lineup, because if he goes off and you don't have him, you're in big trouble if you don't have another guy in that price range that does the same thing. And if he busts and 70, 80% of the people own it, it doesn't really matter. You can make up for it easily, because if 30% of the field doesn't have him and has somebody that performs, well, if you're in a 50-50, you still have a great chance to cash if you have the right lineup together. So I think Callaway there is just a lock from that standpoint. One guy that I do think you're missing on the lower end that I do love this week is Elijah Moore. No, it's not a homer pick. I was more on Rondale Moore most of the week, but now, because Jamison Crowder is out, and even Keelan Cole is going to be a true game time decision, and I don't think he makes much of an impact anyway. But the Jets are almost going to be shorthanded already at wide receiver. You know, it's going to be. It's going to be Elijah Moore. It's going to be Corey Davis. And I mean, I guess Denzel Mims, but he's running with like the third and fourth teamers throughout training camp. So I don't even know what type of impact he may make. So, and with a backfield that is going to be with a backfield that's going to be, a big committee right now, a 3-man committee, and nobody that's really uber talented. I think we're going to see, more passing and more. And Wilson had a very strong connection throughout camp. So I think Elijah Moore, you're taking the same risk as you are with Rondale Moore. I just think that Elijah is a little bit higher on the pecking order for pass targets than Rondale Moore may be, because Arizona does have AJ Green that they brought in that they like. I mean, he's old. I have no idea what he's got left. They still have Christian Kirk there, who's not a terrible player. He never really developed to what a lot of people thought. So I'm leaning more Elijah Moore there. But if you go Rondale Moore, it's the same type of argument, and I totally get it, and I wouldn't fault you at all.
Yeah, the reason I'm on Rondale Moore, I have him in my cash core, and the reason I'm on him as opposed to Elijah Moore is the quarterback, right? I feel like Kyler Murray is a little more established, clearly, and is a safer of a pick than Zach Wilson. And I remember there was a week last year where we were trying to debate this. It was a similar debate, and I don't remember who the second player was, but the first player was Demarcus Robinson. And the argument wasn't the receiver versus the receiver. I remember arguing that I'm taking Pat Mahomes versus whoever. It was like a junk quarterback. It was like Teddy Bridgewater or something. And I was like, at the end of the day, let me just trust the better quarterback. And that's what I'm doing here. Elijah Moore may have more talent than Rondale Moore. Elijah Moore should definitely see a higher target share than Rondale Moore. But I do think the matchup's a little bit better. I do think the quarterback is significantly better. And I also think Cliff Kingsbury, he runs a certain type of an offense. And if you watched how he ran his offense at Texas Tech back in the day, he really loved to feature that small jitterbug slot guy, and it was Jakeem Grant. And I think he wants to use Rondale Moore the same way he wants to use Jakeem Grant. You would think that in the past, you would think he would want to have used Christian Kirk that way, but Kirk they didn't use it. But I think this is the guy. Like, Rondale Moore is great in the open field. I think they're gonna bubble screen him, and I think his depth of average up a target, easily convertible targets, will be there more for Rondale Moore. I think Elijah Moore is going to have to work for it more than Rondale Moore. It's a lot of word. That's a lot of mores in there. But I do think he's going to have to work harder. And when it comes to the rookies and it comes to cash, I want what I think is the easier play. Elijah Moore was someone I absolutely considered. I have him in a lot of tournaments. We're going to talk a lot about the Jets again when we get to GPP conversation, and that Jet count's going to go way up. But for me, it's Rondale. For you, it's Elijah. At the end of the day, they're both. Your point that you made was perfect. The risk you're taking on both of them is exactly the same. The cost is exactly the same. It's what's your preference on that. I prefer Rondale. You prefer Elijah. At the end of the day, I think we're both going to be fine no matter which one you have in the lineup. I think you're okay. And you've got one more guy that you like at the higher end in cash games, and DK Metcalf. We were talking before we went live. Talk to me a little about DK Metcalf and explain to the people listening why DK Metcalf is in your cash game lineup when I only have him personally, because it was a really compelling argument, and I thought it made a lot of sense.
Yeah, so I mean, after seeing Metcalf's development last year and how he really came on and kind of jumped into that upper tier, I think he's as talented and as good as any of the other higher priced receivers, which I think that's pretty commonly known. But I always like to start with those types of things because it's a legitimate thing that you do need to consider there. If we look at it in Seattle, they really don't have much passing depth. I mean, really, it's Metcalf, it's Lockett. Gerald Everett has the talent. He never showed it as much in Los Angeles, but Russell Wilson does love, the tight ends, especially in the red zone. But really, after those three, they don't throw it to the backs that often. And there's really no third receiver, fourth receiver, or anybody. So Metcalf is going to continue to have a high target share. And then a lot of it, too, has to do with the opponent. The Colts do have a good defense. We saw a lot of that last year. But Xavier Rhodes is their top corner. He's at least one of their starting corners. If he's not their number one, he's their number two. Likely was going to be matched up on Metcalf, and he's out today. And now if Metcalf is going up against a backup, I mean, Metcalf is going to have a huge advantage there. The Colts safeties are not as strong either. So there's a lot of potential there. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities. He sees at least 10 targets today. Again, just because of how the Seahawks are. Even if they only throw it 25 to 30 times and not over 40 times, it's still going to be a big it's still going to be a big share for Metcalf there. And if we see more of Russell Wilson like he was in the first half of last year, as opposed to the second half where his passing was on fire, they were throwing it way more than they were running, that's just going to be better for Metcalf. And the way that I did build my lineup and all, I had the money to do it. I didn't really have the money or the savings to go up to the Calvin Ridley or Devontae Adams type. But I think Metcalf is just as good, especially just as good as what Calvin Ridley is and where that potential is. So I just think it was, it's a strong play there, especially with coming in a couple dollars cheaper and being able to get him in and still being very strong at all the other positions with guys with opportunity.
Yeah, I like your cash game lineup. It made a lot of sense. And Metcalf does in that respect, especially with Xavier Rhodes out. It just got me thinking. I'm glad we decided to change the time of the live stream this year, so we have an hour to play with our lineups a little bit, because I do need to get more Metcalf in tournaments. I think he's going to be have a very low roster percentage. So I think getting him as a one-off in tournaments or stacking Seattle, but getting him as a one-off, I think is a really sharp play. We'll hit that up in the tournament section. I know we have some questions coming into the chat that are both GPP. We're going to get to those in about 5 minutes at 11 o'clock when we switch over to GPP conversation. I just want to finish up with the cash pool. We did not forget you guys. And I think this next two sections go pretty quickly. I have a very large tight end pool. But for me, I only personally had 3 people that I was really debating with. Spend up for Kelsey. Spend all the way down for Croft, because we're really a spend up or spend down kind of philosophy for tight end. It's always been that way for us. But recently I've come around on the Kyle Pitts end of it. He's going to be mega, mega, mega chalk. And so much like the Marquez Callaway conversation, at this point I'm just going to eat that chalk because he's significantly cheaper than Kelsey, and I can do a lot more with my lineup. Using Pitts, I think, is a little more comfortable than Croft, though I do like Croft a lot today. He's the only tight end on the Jets roster, and I think a rookie is going more Jets. Oh my goodness, he's going to have some time to. Wilson's going to look for him. He's a talented guy, and he's going to be fine. But I just think the upside with Pitts is a lot higher. And I just didn't love what I could do with Kelsey. So what I do want to know is you have Ty Conklin in there, and he was in one of my builds earlier. Can you talk a little bit about Ty Conklin? And then we'll hit up defense and move on to GPP. So what do you see? Why do you prefer him over Tyler Kroft or spending a little bit more for Kyle Pitts?
The reason I have Conklin over Kroft is because I don't want to have two Jets in there. I already have two Saints in there. So I don't want to be like as stacky in a cash lineup. I mean, again, it's all punt value type guys. So it's not the worst idea, but it would be kind of an either or. I would either have to come off of Callaway or more to feel much more comfortable to have Kroft in there. But I think Ty Conklin is going to be just fine. I mean, same thing in Minnesota, like in Seattle. Aside from in Minnesota, they throw it to the backs more. But aside from Thielen and Jefferson, there's literally no receiver depth there. I mean, I don't even know who their third receiver is at this point. If they're going with that the rookie Marset, or if BB is going to be it, I don't even know what they're doing at the third spot. So I think Conklin's kind of like that default third option. Chris Herndon, I don't think is going to be up to speed. I mean, I don't think he's anything to write home about anyway. And if you remember earlier in this offseason, Mike Zimmer actually made some offhand comments about Ty Conklin that he was going to be the reason that Irv Smith didn't get a bigger role. And now that Irv Smith is hurt, I mean, Conklin's probably going to have enough of targets. And let's not forget also, last year we played Irv Smith in cash quite a bit because he had a lot of touchdown equity. He was a guy that they targeted in the red zone when they weren't running, especially when they were inside the 10 and 5 yard line. I think Conklin's going to have that same type of role. So if he's going to be getting, a handful of red zone or like inside the 5 called, the green zone targets, he can make one catch for the day, but if he scores a touchdown, we're hitting value, so there's a lot of ways, similar to Kroft, there's a lot of ways that he can hit value and where they're going to fall, on the target tree and all that. And I think Conklin's very similar argument to what Kroft is. It just works better in my build, so I don't have multiple guys from the same team.
And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pulling up the stats right now. Towards the end of the year last year, Conklin ended up with 4 more targets in each of the last 4 games, and that was with Irv Smith on the field. So he's the guy they want to throw the ball to.
Yeah, Kyle Rudolph had gotten hurt towards the end of last year, and Conklin kind of stepped up. And that's the other thing too. The Vikings never really had issues with having those dual tight ends either. I mean, Rudolph wasn't anything special by the time last year rolled around, but he still played quite a bit with Irv Smith as well. So you're going to see a similar thing from Conklin. Like I said, I don't think Herndon's going to make much of an impact today. Maybe down the road as he learns the offense better, but I don't think much today. I think it's much more Conklin, and there's definitely a nice path to success there.
Absolutely. Looking at the defenses, when I pick a defense for a GPP or for a cash game, really for anything, but for a cash game in particular, I'm looking for a couple things. Got to be under $3,000. Generally, I look for under 2,500 if I can. And I want defenses that can get the quarterback. Like, you've got to be able to get behind the line of scrimmage and either put pressure on the quarterback or actually complete that sack. Sacks get points, and pressure causes fumbles and interception opportunities, turnover opportunities. I don't care how many points a team's going to give up, honestly, because it's rare that you're going to give up so many points that you get those negative points, and people spend way too much time worrying about that, which is why we're always finding cheap defenses that help us a lot in cash games. I think our defenses were a real reason that we did so well in cash last year, because we didn't buy into the hype. Those top defenses, in order to pay off, they're probably going to have to score a touchdown, and those are really hard to find. This week, those defenses that I'm identifying are the Cardinals. And everyone's been riding my butt on that one, but and I've gotten to a lot of conversations about the Cardinals, but they've had 3 or more sacks in 11 of 16 games last year. They're going to get at the quarterback, and there's nothing that says Tannehill can't have a really good game for Tennessee and still get sacked 3 times and turn the ball over. And 5 points is fine out of my defense. I feel the same way about the Colts against Seattle. They have a really good front 7. Their secondary is a little suspect, but they also get a ton of sacks, and when they get sacks, they get them in bunches. Last year, they had like 5 or 6 games with 4 or more sacks or 5 or more sacks. They had some crazy amount big games, the Colts, though they're a little more susceptible to having 0 sacks, whereas Arizona was a little more consistent. Another team I've come across, or I've come around to a little bit more lately, and they're now sitting in my cash game lineup, is the Miami Dolphins. Going up against a rookie. I understand it's a Belichick team. I understand it's on the road. But the Dolphins also had a ton of sacks last year. They forced a lot of turnovers. I remember we played them last year. I think it was against Seattle, actually, when Seattle was on the road.
There's a St. Louis game against against the Rams.
The Rams. It was the Rams game. And they ended up having like 2 touchdowns or what?
Yeah.
Van Ginkel, right? There was the Van Ginkel game or whatever. And it was awesome. Like, they were great. And because everyone's like, oh, it's the Rams. And Dolphins cause pressure. Like, that's what they do. They get in the backfield, they cause pressure, and you get return points. And we go back to my boy Jakeem Grant, who I was talking about with Texas Tech. He can return for touchdowns. He's one of the better returners in the league. Yep. So you've got another opportunity for a defensive touchdown. I actually really like the Dolphins. And then the Washington football team probably has the best defense in football, at least on this slate. Rams are pretty good defense too. Gosh, I wish they were on this slate going up against Andy Dalton. They'd probably be like $5,000 though. Washington's a little more expensive than I like to spend, but if you've got an extra $300-400 sitting around your lineup and you're like, I don't know what to do, and you're at the Dolphins, okay, you end up at that point. I wouldn't go up to the Washington football team just to and move down on another player for that. But if you've got the money sitting around and you've got a lineup you're comfortable with, knock yourself out with them. I think they're going to put a lot of pressure on Justin Herbert. I am not a fan of the Chargers today. Any defenses I'm missing? I know you mentioned you're kind of thinking about Tennessee. Could you talk about that a little bit? Because they didn't pop for me at all. So
yeah, I mean, honestly, they're the same price as the Colts are. I mean, because of DK Metcalf, I kind of took the Colts out of there for myself. Just that
Sure.
negative correlation. Sometimes, I mean, again, not a big deal on a cheap defense, but that's just kind of why I went away from them. But I still really like them. Really, the Titans, kind of the same reasoning as the Cardinals. I mean, they improve their pass rush in the offseason. They're gonna create some pressure, and also too, were they 2 or 3 point home favorites today? I mean, sometimes defenses in that situation just play a little bit better and all. And also too, this game has one of the highest totals on the board, but if the Titans play their game and they win with Derrick Henry, it likely means Arizona is not scoring a lot of points, and less points, it's better for the defense. So there's also that path there if they're not getting to the quarterback as much either, depending how this game works out. And if they're letting up more points, that probably means the Cardinals are passing more and more sack opportunities. So you can kind of have either way to get there.
Yeah, you definitely want a defense that's going to go up against a team that's going to throw the football as well, which is I like, because that's more sack opportunities. You can't. It's less chances for turnovers if a team's running the football, which would I get Miami, right? Because the Patriots, you think, will try to run the football, but if Miami goes up in that game, they're going to have to throw. So I like that.
Yeah.
All right,
also, too, from the Dolphins standpoint, I don't really see the Patriots putting up 35 points either. If the Patriots win, it's probably like a 17-14 type game.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I do think this will be low scoring. Folks, once again, just a quick reminder that this is Bankster DFS live before lock. My name is Doug Shane at Bankster17. That is Michael Gutadero at the Big Guta. See, that's us. Name on the screen. Pachoo. I love the new graphics. I'm very excited about them this year. And we are BanksterDFS.com. $3.99 a week gets you access to everything we do. We are not just a football site. We cover all the sports, major sports, college sports, niche sports. Our Slack chat has bonus content. $3.99 a week get you all the player pools, all the articles, award-winning articles, might I add. And of course, the Slack chat, which I believe is the best Slack chat in the business, where you get that one-on-one attention. We can look at your lineups, have full-on conversations, and really, it's a community. Bankster DFS is a community. We're all friends. We all have a good time. We're all getting to know each other, and we just, we share our thoughts, and sharing those thoughts as a team is very helpful to build better lineups. We talk about contest selection for all the sports. Leverage plays and pivots and cash games. We cover everything. $3.99 a week. And if you're watching us on YouTube, or if you're not, head over to your YouTube page, like, share, subscribe, click the notification icon. We do daily videos and the weekly live stream at 10:30 every Sunday morning with myself and the Big Gouda. All right. So I was in the chat box, and a friend came in and asked us to take a peek at their team and to rate this GPP lineup for this week. We've got Kyler Murray, Alvin Kamara, Miles Sanders, DeAndre Hopkins, Rondale Moore, Julio Jones, Tyler Kroft, Corey Davis, and the Colts. So what I'm seeing in that lineup, if I'm reading it correctly here, you've got some correlation between Murray with Hopkins, Rondale, and Julio. I like that. And not having A.J. Brown, I think, makes us a little bit different, which is not bad. You got 2 Jets in there. Jet count is through the roof with Kroft and Corey Davis. I'm not sure I'd go that route without. I might go a different way. I might do Kroft and a Panthers receiver to get a little more correlation. I like Kamara in there. There is no correlation though there. Maybe we try to find a way to get a Packers receiver or maybe Robert Tonyan in there or an Aaron Jones. I'm not in love with Miles Sanders, but I will say that nobody is, and so he will carry a very low roster percentage. And the Falcons historically are known for being a team that gives up a lot of points to opposing running backs in the passing game. I'm just not sure how much it's going to be Miles Sanders as opposed to Boston Scott. Coach Sirianni's already said he's kind of going to keep Boston Scott involved. But again, in a tournament, we are looking for that low roster player to kind of differentiate our lineup, and Sanders is definitely going to fill that role. Good. I would say this is an okay lineup. Like I would make maybe a couple changes personally, but I also am not looking at it saying, boy, that's a dumb lineup. It's not. It's there's some tweaks to make, but I think it's a pretty good lineup for a tournament because you do have that main correlation between your Arizona and Tennessee stack. Anything to add on this one, Gouda?
Well, I mean, if you're going to get some correlation with one of the Jets players to add a Panthers player, which would be upgrading Corey Davis. If you do come off of Miles Sanders, who like you mentioned as well, I'm not completely crazy about him this week. Or if you add a Packers receiver. I mean, in that price range where Miles Sanders is, I mean, obviously there's James Robinson who we've talked about. He'll be a little more popular. Najee Harris is probably a decent tournament play. I'm not in love with the play, but he's a good tournament play there. But really, you can spend down. You can get an extra $700 to play with. Which my favorite tournament play this week, you can go down to Raheem Mostert for $5,800, and Mostert's going to be really, really low owned this week. We've seen in the past what he can do. He can really, pop and kind of be a slate breaker there. They did draft Trey Sermon, but I don't know what type of breakdown it's going to be earlier in the year. Mostert's healthy. He's going to be the third down back. And frankly, with Garoppolo coming off of his injuries, it should be a pretty easy win for the 49ers. And I think Mostert's going to get a lot of work here. They'll probably look not to pass as much, I would think, keep it off of Garoppolo because let's face it, the Lions, I don't think they're going to put up more than like 6 points today. And that should play right into Mostert. And Mostert's going to be very low owned, probably as low owned as Sanders is. And you're getting the same, if not better, production for $700 less that you can use to upgrade other spots or add a little more correlation into your lineup.
I feel, I don't understand the Mostert thing, like why he's such a low roster percentage. I would think and maybe it's the Trey Sermon thing, and maybe it's anger because Trey Lance starting. I think a lot of people are off the Niners because they're like, Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah. Jimmy Garoppolo is not Andy Dalton. Okay, Jimmy Garoppolo made it to a Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo, I think the proper comp for Jimmy Garoppolo is Alex Smith the year in 2017. Jimmy Garoppolo is because Trey Lance is like. Trey Lance is like the Mahomes, right? Whereas but Alex Smith was a decent quarterback. This isn't an Andy Dalton, Justin Fields situation. There's too much hate for Garoppolo. He is not dynamic enough to win a Super Bowl for the 49ers on his own. Fair, I accept that. Just like Alex Smith wasn't enough to do it for Kansas City or San Francisco, whatever it is, because they had to bring in Kaepernick and then they replaced him with Mahomes and KC. I get it. But Alex Smith was a good quarterback. He's a good fantasy quarterback, and he was good enough to get you to the playoffs. Jimmy Garoppolo is not a bad quarterback. He's just not the guy we want to see. So I think there's this hate built in for the 49ers. Yeah. I think they are a team to really look at. I've got a ton of Mostert today, and I'm going to go get more in the hour before we after between the show and lock because I think he's way underowned. You were talking about having an extra $700 to spend to get off of Corey Davis to get some Panthers correlation. Robbie Anderson's $800 more, but we can fix that by lowering the defense on that lineup. It was the Colts. You can go down to the Cardinals, or I know they're running the Cardinal stack. You can go down to any other defense in that respect. A cheap defense doesn't really matter, or play around with something else. But I think making that switch helps a lot. I would want to get a run back on the Jets. I wouldn't want to double stack the Jets without some Panthers run back. And you know what? While we're on the Jets, let's just do it now. Let's talk about my favorite stack of the day. And it's not the Jets. It is the Jets game, but it's not the Jets. My favorite stack of the day, because no one's talking about this, and I don't know why, is Sam Darnold, and I'm running it back with, or I'm stacking him with DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Corey Davis, and I'm using Croft because I want to have an extra wide receiver position open, but you could run it with Elijah Moore instead. I love this stack. And again, Elijah Moore instead of Croft makes a ton of sense, but I want that position open, that wide receiver position open, so I can run another stack. Because what I'm doing with this is I'm going to then go ahead and say, okay, I've got this, because I think the Jets defense is not great, right? The secondary is not great. Carolina's defense is getting better, but it's not great. Sam Darnold, Robbie Anderson, free from Gase, revenge game. The Jets passing offense is going to be better than people think, because you can run that back with a a Green Bay New Orleans game stack, and so now you've got yourself a high end, particularly higher, more popular game, and you've got yourself an opportunity here to really do something with your lineup. If you run a cheap defense in here, like the Cardinals, you can really make yourself a little bit different because you have just enough money now to go in there and throw. And this is what's really going to make your lineup different in something like this. No one's going to stack Aaron Jones with Devontae Adams because in theory they're negatively correlated, but because there's just not a lot of other wide receivers on the Packers that are going to command a huge target share, I do think Aaron Jones is going to get a slightly larger target share this year than he has in the past, particularly with Jamal Williams gone. A.J. Dillon's not really a pass-catching back. I don't think Kylan Hill's ready to take that role. I do think you're going to see Aaron Jones have a little more role in the passing game, and I also think that last year, Devontae Adams had an inordinate amount of 2-yard or less touchdown receptions. I don't know if that'll happen necessarily this year. And if it doesn't, Aaron Jones is getting those touchdowns. It could be Tunyon, I suppose. But Aaron Jones, in theory, should get those inside the 5 touchdowns. He's a great inside the 5 runner. So running this stack makes your stack a little more unique by stacking Adams with Jones. If you don't feel comfortable with that, you can pull Aaron Jones, go down to someone like James Robinson, Najee Harris, Joe Mixon, Raheem Mostert, and then upgrade that defense. There's a couple different ways you can go. But boy, stacking that Jets game, if that Jets game goes over the total's in the mid-40s right now. If that game is even like a 28-21 and 28-24 type of game, there's money to be made there. This is one of the first lineups I made this week.
Yeah, I made a couple. I'll be honest.
Shocker.
I'm a glutton for punishment, so I made the lineups. I don't see it with Darnold. I really don't. I mean, he didn't do much in like camp or preseason, even to think, all right, he's out from Gase. It's going to be better. I mean, there's definitely better offensive minds in Carolina. It's better weapons. The potential is definitely there, and I mean, he's still really young, so it's not out of the realm of possibilities. I don't know. I just don't know. He just struggled so much. It's tough, but it's a tournament play. It's going to be something low owned. So it makes sense there. And again, I mean that's the other part. I think DJ Moore is going to have a very big game today. I mean the Jets secondary, there's nothing there. So yeah, if Moore has a big game and Anderson does what he can do as well, kind of by default. Darnold should have a good game to really hit value as well. So the logic is there. It's just I just maybe have PTSD from watching Darnold the past couple of years. I don't know.
The thing about Darnold, he doesn't need to go 350 and 4 touchdowns to pay off. He goes 250 and 2 touchdowns, and those touchdowns are to Moore and Anderson, and the Jets can do anything on their end. And then you get a shootout in New Orleans. But it doesn't have to be the New Orleans game. You could stack a different game in there. You could do other things with your lineup.
Or even two, you could even you can keep Kamara and Adams. You can add, you can add correlation in other ways. I mean, this one I like. It'll leave some money on the table, but you could go Javonte Williams with the Broncos defense. I mean, You
Yeah,
talk
I
about
like that.
pressure and getting to the quarterback. I mean, there's nothing there to think that the Giants O-line is going to play good today. And the Broncos have one of the best pass rushing defenses in the NFL, especially if Von Miller is kind of back to health and everything as well. So that again, it's going to leave some money. It's going to leave quite a bit of money on the table. But if Javonte Williams really is going to be the number one there and kind of take off, it's a low-owned correlation that can really work.
I like that. I do like the Javonte Williams Denver defense. I think there's a couple of defensive stacks that work. I think even though I don't love spending up, the 49ers and Raheem Mostert, I think makes a ton of sense. I do think, obviously Javonte and the Broncos makes a lot of sense. Was it Sean who had the dream that Myles Gaskin ran for 500 yards, or was it you who had that dream?
That was me.
That was you who had that dream. 500 yards Gaskin, you stack. I don't think he'll run for 500 yards, but I think he could have a decent game. You stack him with the Dolphins. I do think no one's going to play Antonio Gibson today. Gibson and the football team defense makes a lot of sense. And then I also think the Chase Edmonds, who's only $4,600 with the Cardinals defense. If you want to get a little weird, that's a way to get a little weird here. Brandon has come in with a question, and I'll get your take on this because my mom always said if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Golladay is a one-off. How do we feel about that?
No. Don't do it.
It's just not there, right?
No. Denver's got a good secondary. I mean, has Golladay even practiced yet? I don't know what he's done. I mean, there's plenty of talent on that Giants offense, but it's something I'd rather just completely pass on and let's see what it looks like, and we can keep it in our minds for later in the year possibly.
There's no way he can develop that rapport.
No, I don't think so. I mean, if anything, if the Giants offense clicks today and anything, I would say it's probably going to be Slayton more than anybody because he has that chemistry there with Jones. But even that, that's a game I'm just, aside from like Javonte Williams and the Broncos defense, I'm pretty much just passing the entire thing.
If you want to get a little weird with the game, because I have a feeling on the Denver passing, even though they're fairly good pass defense, I'm interested in that Denver wide receiving core with a run back on Saquon. I mean, again, I'm not doing this heavily and I don't even have this lineup, but like Saquon's going to be like 2% this week. I mean, listen, if he does anything and he's supposedly good, there's no pitch count on him.
Yeah.
Is what they've said, which is complete garbage. We know there's a pitch count on him.
Of course.
But if he comes out and has 15 touches and does Saquon things, 2%. Yeah. 2%.
I mean, listen, Barkley's the guy that his first handoff can go for 70 yards and a touchdown. I mean, he's got the talent that he can break the slate. I mean, you just don't know, what it's going to look like today. But again, that's a guy like Barkley, if you want a one-off from the Giants, that's the risk that you take in a GPP because Barkley's upside is the moon, and that's Absolutely. What's going to win you a GPP. If you have him at 2% owned, you're lapping the field if your other guys are performing.
A couple other ways that we can pivot, right? Because I think our chalk stacks today, the chalk games, Philly, Atlanta is going to be fairly chalky. I do think that Minnesota, Cincinnati is going to be very chalky, but from the Cincinnati side, because Cincinnati is incredibly cheap. So you want to maybe go with the Minnesota side. If you can get a sub 10% Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen and run it back with a couple of the Cincinnati receivers or even Joe Mixon, that's an interesting way to look at that game. I think Arizona, Tennessee is going to be very chalky, which is weird because there are a lot of people in the industry who are talking about this is the pivot game off the chalk. So much so that I think it's getting chalky now.
Yeah.
A lot of steam. But the way that you can do this, I did a whole video this week about negative correlation. And the example I used was Tannehill, and stacking Tannehill with Derrick Henry is negatively correlated because Henry doesn't catch enough passes. You want to get weird? You want to come off the chalk a little bit, but still have exposure this game? Stack Derrick Henry with Ryan Tannehill and like AJ Brown or Anthony Ferkser, right? And then come back with a couple of the pass catchers from Arizona, and you've got yourself a very different lineup because people are not going to put Derrick Henry in there. You can do Derrick Henry in just about any stack, any lineup, in the same way that Barkley is going to be have a fairly low roster percentage. You're going to find the same thing with Derrick Henry. He is going to come well below McCaffrey, Cook, Kamara, James Robinson. I think he's going to be in that Mostert range. I mean, you want to You don't have to go all 5% guys, by the way. We talked about this. I talked about this in my GPP strategy video. You don't need to go all low-owned guys, but if you did want to, I mean, Barkley, Mostert, Derrick Henry is cumulative ownership on that could be 20%. You know what I mean? And they all have the ability to break a slate. I'm not sure I'd put them all in the same lineup, but you put one of those guys in instead of a McCaffrey or a Kamara or a James Robinson, and you're all automatically different. This Pittsburgh-Buffalo game has a fairly high total. I don't get it. Both defenses are pretty good. I have nothing on this game this week. This is my, normally when we do these live streams, I have a game when I'm just like, yeah, no, we're not using it, which that to me is the Chargers game or the Giants game or the Patriots game. I'm like, but I shockingly have nothing on this Pittsburgh-Buffalo game. I have no feel for the game. I don't believe anyone's going to pop off too hard in this game, which is guarantees that it's going to pop hard. And I think it's going to be way popular. What am I maybe I have a little Najee Harris. I might have a little Najee Harris, but I don't really have a lot on this. Am I missing something, Gouda?
I don't think so. I mean, I think the high total is definitely based on each team's performances last year and their stronger propensity to pass. I mean, I think we should see less passing from Pittsburgh this year. Buffalo's game plan is not going to change. I mean, Buffalo is going to continue to pass it a ton with Josh Allen. I mean, I've been on Zach Moss a little bit in the offseason, like for a season long and like best balls. But I mean, unless we see it from Zach Moss, there's nothing to think that they're going to, run more out of the gate. So, I mean, I see it here. And I just think that, I mean, there's pieces you can always be interested in. Like I stacked this game a little bit. I've got like one or two stacks of it with Josh Allen and some different dynamics of it, especially because Buffalo is home. But I think you might want a little exposure, like maybe a share or two of Chase Claypool here or there, because we know what he can do. Najee Harris obviously is an unknown, but we look at the Steelers' history, and especially with Mike Tomlin there. I mean, when they have a running back that they love, their number one back does not come off the field. I mean, the only reason the past couple of years Connor has is because he was injured. But when Connor was healthy, even Connor was a friggin' bell cow in there all the time. And I mean, Deontay Johnson too. Listen, if things repeat from last year and Johnson's a target hog, I mean, he can easily pay off his price tag with 12 targets. So I mean, there's things there. I'm not going out of my way for them either, but I do have a little bit of exposure because, I mean, this game is as likely as any of the others to be the highest scoring of the day, but it could also be a little bit of a slop fest with two pretty good defenses there as well.
I feel like my stubbornness with this game could cost me a little bit. Maybe in that hour after when we go to Slack, which Good and I will jump right into Slack once we're done with the live stream for an hour to get members ready for lock. And I know there's already people in the Slack chat at the moment, but maybe as we're doing that, I'll have to throw together a Pittsburgh Buffalo stack just so I have something. So if the game does pop, I don't feel that stupid. Kansas City Cleveland's another game that's going to be really popular. I don't know how many people are going to go like onslaught in this game, and by onslaught I mean at least two pass catchers from both sides or two players from both sides with one of the quarterbacks. And that's become, by the way, the optimal way to win a GPP is to go heavy stack. You overstack a game because if it hits, then you really hit hard. And Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill is very expensive, and it's going to be hard. I don't know if people are going to go that route. I'm seeing projections across the industry that Hill could come in at under 10%, and we did this last year, and we've talked about it in the past. If you can get any Kansas City player of the major three for under 10%, just pound them. And so I think I like Tyreek Hill is going to be a great pivot off of Calvin Ridley, who's going to be very popular, Devontae Adams, Steph Diggs. If Tyreek Hill's coming in at 8%, 9%, throw him into as many GPPs as you can get. That's a ridiculous number. You're taking a look at this stack, 4,200 is all that's left if you run Mahomes, Hill, and Kelsey. Now, if you want to run two receivers from Cleveland, you could run Kareem Hunt. Beckham is questionable. Looks like he's going to play.
He's supposed to be playing.
He should be playing, but if not, or even if he's limited, DPJ, man, I love me some DPJ. Donovan Peoples-Jones is a guy that Baker seems to trust. Decent wide receiver, had some big games toward the end of last year. Just seems like somebody that could make a play this year, this year, and become a player in the same way that Rashad Higgins was last year. And when you do that, now you've got yourself a couple of extra bucks. You come in with a Denver stack, Javonte Williams, because you need back in order to make this work at $4,200. You come with Denver stack with Javonte Williams and the Denver defense, which Denver defense is a little bit more than I want to spend, but you come in and you roll that out here. Now you've raised what you can. You come in with a cheap 3K wide receiver. It doesn't matter really which one it is. We'll just pick one of the mores. So that way we can see what kind of money we have left. You have $6,700 left for your second running back, and then your options are 1 point because you've got Najee Harris, you've got James Robinson, you've got a lot of other guys you can throw in. I would love to get Barkley, but he's a little too expensive, $900 too expensive. So you've got guys that you could play here in this area. Mixon, Robinson, another 3 that I'd look at. So you've got some options here, or you could go with Marvin Jones here and get Raheem Mostert. Ooh, that's a pretty sexy lineup, actually, if you're going with the Donovan Peoples-Jones aspect of it. So there are ways to play this game, and this is going to be way different. Getting DPJ in there is going to be way different. Stacking all 3 of the big 3 for Kansas City could be way different. Or you just throw Baker Mayfield in there. You throw Baker Mayfield in there, and you're spending a lot less money. And now you've got some more opportunities. Maybe you don't go Javonte Williams. Maybe you go elsewhere with that other player. Maybe you can go to Jarvis Landry. So you can update and upgrade just by making a couple of changes. And by making those couple of changes, you're going to make yourself different enough that you can move up a GPP when your combined roster percentage is lower than the field, and you're playing it just a little differently than most people play it, because then it forces you to use players that other people aren't playing. And that's a real key to building GPPs is do something different, because it's not just the one thing that's different. The rest of your lineup gets changed based on that, whether it's because of correlation or because of what your salary is left over. You have to, one change begets other changes. There's a question, Jack Gouda, and I am going to let you answer it. What if, it's back to the Najee Harris, what if he gets Le'Veon Bell usage? Then what happens? Like, what's going to happen there?
I mean, if he gets that type of usage, he's going to pop off, especially at that salary.
Then we're all done for not you at that point.
I mean, again, that's the anticipation of how they're going to use him. I mean, let's be honest, when your backups are Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland and Jalen Samuels, I mean, McFarland's nothing more than a change of pace guy, and Samuels and Snell have been on that team, and we've seen what they've done in their opportunities, and they're not taking any touches away from Harris unless he needs a quick rest. I mean, listen, the usage should be there. I mean, the big thing becomes if the Steelers go back to last year's ways and they throw it, 50 times in this game because Buffalo's putting up points, yeah, Harris is going to get targets, but if he's not going to get many rushing attempts, then that becomes more of the issue. But I mean, I think Harris is still a good, tournament play. If you think that he is going to be used that way, like they've kind of said, and the game works out the right way for them, then I mean, Harris is strong there and really is a very cheap price if he's going to get,
he really is,
20 carries and 5 to 8 targets.
Great pivot off of a chalky James Robinson. The other big game that I'm looking at on this slate as we head into inactives, in 1 minute, inactive should be coming out. We'll keep an eye on that for you. It's one of the reasons we changed the timing of the show, is to bring you the inactives live. This Green Bay New Orleans game, this is going to be a very popular way to stack this game, is Adams, Kamara, and Callaway. So how do we make this? It's with either of the quarterbacks. So how do we make this different? I am of the belief that Marquez Callaway is going to be, I mean, everyone's of the belief, the highest, if not one of the, if not the highest roster players on the entire slate, cash, GPPs, across the board. So how do you want to make this different? Don't use Marquez Callaway. We understand he's the number one receiver, but like, what has he ever really done? It's not the end of the world to go off him a little bit, right? Especially because he's probably going to see Jair Alexander. And if Alexander shuts him down, well, where are they going to throw the ball? Yep, they're going to throw it to Kamara, but where else might they throw the ball? They might throw it to Deontay Harris. Harris, who is really good in that and is excellent in the open field. And perhaps if Juwan Johnson, as they're saying, plays tight end, he's listed as a wide receiver, but if he plays tight end like he's supposed to, word is that Jameis Winston really likes him. So Jameis Winston and Juwan Johnson have a little bit of a hookup, and Jair Alexander shuts down Marquez Callaway. And I'm not saying to play both these guys. They're just options out there. You throw Juwan Johnson as a receiver, which people aren't going to want to do. They're going to want to use him as a tight end, and they can't. Great. Take advantage of that. Use Juwan Johnson. Make your lineup a little bit different. Just that alone is going to make your lineup different enough from other people, and then you can start stacking whatever else you have to stack in this game. So making that small pivot can do that. Another way that you can do that, because I think a lot of people are going to run, not a lot of people are going to run Aaron Jones. I do think a lot of people are going to just run, Devontae Adams with Aaron Rodgers. Throw Tunyon in there as well. Overstack the game. I don't love Tunyon. I think he's incredibly touchdown dependent. Would never use him in cash, but that's why it's the GPP. It's a tournament. He also has 3 touchdown upside. We've seen that, and Aaron Rodgers knows how to use his tight ends. Run this lineup out there as Hook is one of our leverage. He's one of our leverage guys over at Bankster DFS. Loves the Deontay Harris leverage play. I knew that would excite him there because we have to be a little bit different, right? And in a tournament, do something different. Just do what they're not doing. That's how you differentiate. Figure out what everyone's doing and do something else. Do it smartly. Like, don't overstack. Don't go play Nico Collins instead of Brandon Cooks. Watch, Nico Collins has a good game now, but don't run Chris Manhertz. That's much less likely to pop. Just because you want to be different, like be smart, but do it in a smart way. Run Deontay Harris out there. We don't know what's going to happen with the New Orleans passing attack. We think it's going to be Marquez Callaway, but we know Jair Alexander is good, and we know someone else has got to catch the ball. So Deontay Harris, Juwan Johnson, and then run it a little bit differently.
Yeah. And also too, one thing that kind of gets overlooked when you try to get contrarian or come off chalk on chalky players, like if you went the chalky route and you had Kamara, Adams, and Callaway, that's okay. You can still use that, and it's the other areas where you can get contrarian or less chalky on your picks. Because remember, if you're with a chalky game stack, well, it's other areas that you can be contrarian where you bring down your total ownership percentage, because there's going to be a lot of different ways that you can build it. So if you use a tight end that's going to be lower owned, or another wide receiver that's lower owned, or the running back, those are the areas where you can differentiate yourself from the other people using it.
I agree with that completely. Good. Any check on any inactives? We're going to pull these up. This is going to be the less professional portion where we look at things. There's
actually 2 interesting ones so far. One for the Falcons, Wayne Gallman actually is inactive. So I think that's a bit of an upgrade to Mike Davis. There's nobody else there that's even going to spell him. So, I mean, Davis could be on the field for upwards of 90% of the snaps today for when they do have a running back on the field. Yep. So I think that's an interesting one. And then for Buffalo, there's no Zach Moss today. Which wild. I didn't even realize he was hurt. I don't know what's going on there. But I don't know
for the 49ers, Trey Sermon is actually inactive today.
Oh, well,
which I mean, all aboard the Mostert train. But if you were going to run someone else, it's JaMychal Hasty, I suppose. Which really means I need to update my. I need to go in and update my showdown lineup, because I do have Trey Sermon in there. But yikes, man, Trey Sermon out. Mostert should be one of your top tournament options in that mid range. Running back. There's no reason not to use him at this point. They're not going to run JaMychal Hasty into the ground. It's just not happening.
Get him in there. And then, and as we had spoken about before, what is this, mention number 20 now? Keelan Cole's inactive for the Jets. So I think that's a good sign as well for Elijah Moore. There's no receivers there today. I mean,
play every Jet.
It's Moore and it's Davis. I mean, that's really it.
Play every Jet today. That's all we're going to do. Oh my! I can't even believe. I'm just trying to figure out what to do with this team. I had a team I was building or I was working on for my for the showdown for the 49ers Detroit game, and it's I think I have to move. And if you play showdown, might as well talk about that for a second. Yeah. I think I had the 49ers defense as the captain and stacked him with Mostert. I think I'm going to try to flip that and put Mostert in as my captain. I mean, God, that's just there's still a lot of money. Had Jermichael Hasty in there, but I don't need him. Golly, it just opens up so much for that team. Jeepers. I can't believe Sermon's not playing. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's interesting, especially because I mean Shanahan likes to run the ball. I mean, I wonder if maybe Sermon's not grasping the playbook quick enough, or they just figure we're not going to use him a lot, so let's not risk him for injury or anything. I don't know. That's an interesting one. And,
wow. Anything else pop while we were talking as well?
Nothing yet. No real nothing notable yet. And then I mean it's interesting. I wonder if with the Buffalo Pittsburgh game now, if Singletary becomes interesting tournament play, or if it makes the passing game more interesting now.
Even better.
Because I mean, we kind of know what Singletary is. He's not really between the tackles runner. He's more of like a change of pace receiving back, and the only other running back they have on the roster that's going to play is Matt Breida, and he's kind of the same back that Singletary is.
Yeah.
So I wonder if this just means that the Bills are just saying, the Steelers have a strong offense. Let's throw it 50 times.
I got a season-long team where I drafted. It's a 2-quarterback league, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, 2 flex, and I waited forever to draft a running back. And my 2 starting running backs are Sony Michel and Tevin Coleman, which isn't good. But I've got Devin Singletary on the bench. I think he needs to go in there over Coleman. But I think Coleman's going to be the guy for the Jets. Like I like Ty Johnson, but P. Ryan and Josh Adams are out today. So
yeah, I mean, there's no that. I mean, P. Ryan's been hurt. I mean, those 2 inactives are no surprise. I mean, it was going to be a committee between Johnson, Coleman, and Carter anyway.
Yeah,
probably a little less Carter just because he kind of struggled towards the end of camp. I mean, I don't know how up to speed Michelle might be with everything, or how much he might play and all. You might be better off going Singletary and Coleman, really. I mean, that's a tough one, especially because Michelle plays at 820, and if he's going to be limited or God forbid even inactive for some reason, I mean, it's just going to just
bite your tongue. Bite your tongue on that one. He was my top running back pick, so I'm screwed if he doesn't play. If I don't, now I got to think about that.
I think down the road, Michelle's going to be just fine, but it's just it's tough tonight with that 8:00 game.
Oh, for sure. Gross. So wow, see, it's interesting how things like that can pop at the last minute and throw things off. It's weird because I liked Raheem Mostert. Now I'm wondering if this actually increases Mostert's roster percentage. I wonder if he becomes chalkier now.
That's the other part of it. I mean, he could have been lower because of the Sermon factor, and now with Sermon inactive, everybody's like, oh, well, Mostert's getting the entire backfield.
But what about the set it and forget it people too? You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a lot of people who, I just think, especially casual players, they're not going to be sitting at their computers listening to things like this to make their changes. And I still think there's a way to attack that. I think for sure in the showdown, I think Mostert is an easy captain, particularly in cash. And I don't play a ton of cash in showdowns unless it's a big game like the Super Bowl or something. But I am playing cash in that one because I think that game's fairly straightforward. You play a lot of 49ers and you play very few Lions and just fit what you can fit. I think Mostert in the 49ers defense is a stack that you should be running in cash for the showdown slate for sure. That's one thing that is fairly locked in.
You know what? Speaking of cash, I think this puts Mostert on the cash radar. If you're looking to go down a little bit from like James Robinson, or you're looking to spend a little elsewhere, if you need a couple of bucks, I think this puts Mostert on the cash radar now.
I agree with that
regular slate too, because like you're saying, if San Fran wins as easy as they should, Mostert's going to be a big part of it and get, probably close to 20 touches realistically.
So now that you bring that up, one of the things that people are doing this week pretty heavily is spending up at running back and spending down at wide receiver. Mm-hmm. And talking about the tournament plays that we can do, and this ties in with the Mostert thing. One of the ways we can differentiate ourselves in tournaments this week too is going the complete opposite and don't spend up at running back and spend up just at wide receiver. And if you want to put together a slightly non-correlated lineup, I'm throwing it up on the screen right now. I want to see if it's doable, really. It's, you know me, I like to play as we go, especially now with the extended time on the show. We have another 20 minutes or so before we go off. I want to take a look and see what we can do with spending up at receiver, and can we find a way to correlate a lineup in a tournament that makes sense. And I think we can. So I'm taking a look here at the spend ups, right? Jefferson, Hill, and Metcalf, I think could all be under 10%. I think Metcalf is will be the highest, the most rostered of all those. But what if we go in there? Can we make a lineup work where we stack Kirk Cousins with Justin Jefferson? Like, what do I have to do at defense to make that work? And my second running back position, because I'm going to definitely come back with a flex of Cincinnati receiver, Higgins or Jamar Chase work. I'll throw the Cardinals in defense in there for now. I mean, it is a tournament up that I think can make some sense based on the fact that we're going to get the correlation with the Cincinnati receivers. And I'm going to have to punt tight end for sure to make this work. Let's play around with this as we go. So if I throw T. Higgins, the cheapest of the receivers, can we make it work if I throw in what if I throw in? Oh, hold on. Yeah, see, now we're going to correlate this lineup ever so slightly more, and I think we'll have enough money. Yeah, because at the very least, $4,600. We're going to make this work. And what can we do with that last running back position? 4,800. So bless you. We've got Cousins. We've got him stacked with Jefferson and Conklin with a run back of T. Higgins. And now we've got $4,800 left. We've got a cheap defense. We've got Tyreek Hill and Metcalf and Mostert, 3 low rostered guys. I think Keenan Allen and Terry McLaurin are 2 guys you can find for low roster percentage as well this week. But now we're taking a look here. Oh, there's that Devin Singletary play. If you wanted to use him, you could use Javonte Williams at that point. Like this right here. What do you think about that? I mean, I haven't thought about this because, I kind of like to build as we go sometimes. You've got some correlation. I don't have a secondary stack, which kind of bothers me. And I'm not sure how I'd want to build a secondary stack. Maybe I'd say you put Kareem Hunt in there as your secondary stack, but then you come off of Metcalf, right? So maybe you come in. Well,
if you wanted to do a secondary stack, I was gonna say you can leave Edmonds there. I would say secondary stack. I personally really like Austin Hooper this week. You can have a Hooper Hill correlation, and then if you wanted to keep Edmonds in there for the Cardinals defense, and then see where that leaves you at wide receiver.
So put Edmonds in is what you're saying.
Yeah. So keep Edmonds in there, change Conklin to Hooper, and see where that leaves you at wide receiver. Or even you can put Higgins at the wide receiver and see where you can go at flex as well.
You're man, Gouda. And then really want to get crazy and go Jamar Chase instead of Higgins, because I think Chase has a little more upside than Higgins. Let's put him in there just for giggles. So we want to run back our Hooper. How much is Hooper? I haven't been looking at him much this week. Oh, he's pricey. $4K for Hooper. What are we doing? Nuts. $6,500. All right. Hold on. 65 gets me. Well, I mean, you could go a little chalky at this point, right? Because our lineup is so different. Maybe you run James Robinson in there at 6,400 and you just really. My phone's ringing. Do they not know I'm live? Who is it? It's nobody. Shut up. You run James Robinson in there. Let's just put that as a guy that we can put in there.
Do that. Can go
now. You've got. Let's see. We've got a. What's that?
I said Najee Harris is an option there as well.
That's true. So I got Hooper and Chase, and that's kind of like that. We do this every year or every week. We do this every week last year where we just build a stack and are like, I think I can convince myself that this is fantastic. But really, you're getting your run back on Minnesota, Cincinnati. You're getting a secondary stack with Hooper and Mostert. You're actually getting Hooper and Hill. You're getting a tertiary stack with Edmonds and the Cardinals, right, going up against Tennessee. And you got James Robinson, but hold on, let me see what else we can get in there. Because maybe, just maybe, we can do something even more different, perhaps. What if we do this? You go tight end, you go Ferkser as your run back for Edmonds.
Okay.
And do I have enough? Oh, I have more than enough money. I have more than enough money to run back Beckham with Tyreek Hill. And that gives me enough money to... Does it give me enough money? Yeah, I'll give you more enough money to do what I want to do there. Should it? Hold on. I'm $200 short, aren't I? Son of a gun. I thought we could run it back. Jesus, I'm going to be $100 short. Because I would say you could take Chase and change it to to T. Higgins at 47, but I only have 46. Oh, that would have been so pretty. Look at that. That would have been so pretty. Almost did it. Almost did it. But these are the kinds of things that you want to play with as you're building a lineup, right? Again, we talked about when someone does something, when the whole field is doing something, paying up at running back, do the other thing. Just pay up at receiver. In this case, you're paying up. You're paying up with Hill and Jefferson, which people just aren't going to have. And you've got Mostert, which people aren't going to do. And then Edmonds. That makes some sense. We don't have to do Edmonds, by the way. Hold on. See, I'm going to keep playing because I can't not play with this. I want this lineup to work. And we're going to run Javonte Williams out there instead.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't. Oops, that's not how you spell Williams. I don't know if this is the best part of our live stream or no good. But I do like that the build, right? Like now you've got all the information out there and we build. And I would like to hope that people watching are building well as they go, right? Because when in doubt, make more lineups. So you come down on 49ers. So maybe you don't stack the 49ers and Mostert. Maybe you stack the Javonte Williams and the Denver defense. And instead, what does that leave us? 4,600 at tight end. You can go chalky with Pitts, or you can go right there with
Logan Thomas
at $4,600. So then the question becomes, do you go Logan Thomas and T. Higgins, or do you want to go Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase and try to shoot for that a little less roster percentage, a little more upside? I think I like the upside of Jamar Chase in this case because if the whole point of this is going with receivers who are going to find a lower roster percentage, I do think Jamar Chase gets a lower roster percentage. Then you can offset that with some of the chalkiness or a lot of the chalkiness of Mr. Pitts. And there you go.
I mean, that's one of the biggest DFS things that people talk about. It's the recency bias that people fade a strong player because, he didn't play good last week, so now he stinks. I'm not using him this week. Yep. And I mean, the guy with the biggest recency bias in the NFL right now is Jamar Chase because he's had problems with drops the past couple of weeks. Is it really a thing? Is it he only drops when the media is watching and the rest of the practices he's been fine? It's like what's there? So the low ownership is going to be there. Where a month and a half ago, the guy was going in the friggin' fourth round of best ball drafts.
He was,
and now nobody wants him. So it's like, we know what he could do. Yeah, probably not playing in 2020 may hurt him a little bit, and there may be some rust there. But listen, the guy can put up as big a game as anybody else. We've seen what he did at LSU, so it's there.
Absolutely.
And now it's just a matter of if it comes together now or if it's going to be week 3 or week 4 like Justin Jefferson was last year.
And what I like about this lineup in particular is you're still going after what's going to be one of the 3 most popular games of the week, which is the Minnesota Cincinnati game, but you're doing it from a perspective of from a perspective of a lower roster percentage because you're flipping the side you're doing it for. You're going after one of the lower owned big running backs on the slate, right? I just don't see Mostert getting that huge ownership, and he's in a great spot right now. We believe in Javonte Williams in a tournament. Just because the upside against the Giants could be there, and you're stacking it with that defense, and if Denver gets up, they're going to just grind the Giants down, and you are attacking one of the other higher totaled games on the slate with Cleveland and Kansas City. You're doing it with the wide receiver 1 on both teams, neither of which are going to have a roster percentage above 10%. So this is a great tournament lineup. And let's talk about tournaments, right? I've been saying from the beginning, I said it last year, I said it this year, I said it in the videos I made, and I'll say it right now. I would love for you to win $1 million, but you're not winning $1 million. Like that, don't go in with the mindset that we're going to win $1 million. You're not, though. Like it's not how it happens, right? Like you're not building your bankroll playing the Millie Maker. Do I have entries in the Millie Maker? Yeah, of course. I'd like to win $1 million. I'm going to take a couple of stabs at it, particularly at $5. But am I going to beat 1.5 million people? Am I going to have that perfect lineup? No. So how am I going to build my bankroll?
You're not going to win it with that attitude.
Well, I'm realistic. I like to be a realistic guy.
Listen,
I saw a video today, and I do not want to rip other sites because I've talked about this off the air, and I have no problem sharing with the public. I spend a lot of time watching other content creators, other sites, because we can all learn from each other. But I saw a video, and I won't say from which site it was, that says, learn how to win the Millie Maker. And I just laughed at it. I said, that's BS, because you're not realistically, it's like buying a lottery ticket. It's controllable. It's a controllable lottery ticket, but you have to have a perfect lineup, and you're going up against 1.5, 1.3 million people with 150 entries per person. Like the ownership's going to be spread out in such a way that like a weird lineup is probably going to win. It's much easier to control what you're going to do by entering smaller fields, like 1,000 people or less, with lower prize pools, because you're not winning $1 million with 1,000 people or less, unless obviously the entry fee is astronomical. But if you're a casual player like I am, and you're only playing $100 a week or $150 a week in NFL, if that, you're entering a $5 or a $3 or a $12 tournament. Find the one that has a lower field size, 1,000 people or less, ideally under 500, with a max entry of 3 or less. A single entry is preferred, because what's going to happen there? You're going to find that the people that are being played are far more predictable. The lineups tend to center around the chalk. If you have 150 lineups, you can make the weirdest lineup possible. You can stack Texas, Jacksonville from the Texan side, right? The Houston side there. And because you got 149 other lineups to play safe. If you've got one shot in a tournament or 3 shots in a tournament, you're going to play the safer lineups. You're going to see a lot of Philly, Atlanta, Cleveland, Cleveland, Kansas City, New Orleans, Green Bay, Arizona, Tennessee, and you're going to see it in a fairly chalky way. You're going to see the Kansas City side, you're going to see the Atlanta side, you're going to see the Aaron Rodgers side. And so how do we make it different? Well, you take out Minnesota-Cincinnati game, which is also going to be really popular, which is going to be super popular from the Cincy side, and play it from the Minnesota side. You play the New Orleans side from the Jameis Winston side, or you take out Callaway and you put in Deontay Harris, or you play the Pittsburgh game, or you play Jalen Hurts and Jalen Reagor instead of Devonta Smith. Like there are ways, and then the rest of your lineup can be super chalky. But you've made 1 or 2 changes, and since the fields are going to center around the chalk, you have changed up in a way that has made it unique enough that you're going to be able to lap the field if your guys do well. I know, and I'm not going to call Brandon out. Brandon's one of our writers. He's great. He's fading Derrick Henry altogether. Yeah, a lot of people are. So you want to be different. You want to take a shot in a small field 3 max or less tournament. Play Derrick Henry. Like, don't play Kamara or don't play McCaffrey. I'll tell you right now, I know it's going to sound insane. McCaffrey was the second name I clicked into my cash game lineups because, I clicked in Jalen Hurts first. I have 0. It's crazy. 0 McCaffrey in tournaments today. I have none because I'm going a different direction. He's going to be uber chalk at running back, and I think there are other running backs who can put up similar games. Derrick Henry has the same upside as Christian McCaffrey. The likelihood of him getting there is smaller because he's, not catching the passes, and it's in a game that we think Tennessee's going to throw, but he's also going to come in, whereas McCaffrey's going to be 20 some odd percent, 25%. You're going to have Derrick Henry at 12%. I'll take that because it's going to, if Derrick Henry does pop off, I'm going to move up, or I'm actually focusing way heavier on wide receivers for my tournament stacks. And I'm playing a lot more lower price running backs. I've got a lot of Mostert. I've got a lot of Javonte Williams. I've got a lot of James Robinson, even though he's going to be pretty chalky because I'm still spending up a wide receiver. I've got some Mike Davis. That's the route that I'm going in tournaments today because it's different enough. And I'm still playing those big games. I have a lot of Seattle, a lot of Philly, a lot of Kansas City and Cleveland, a ton of New Orleans, Green Bay. I've got a lot of Devontae Adams stacks.
Well, that's the thing too. Like when you're playing the tournaments, I mean, for the most part, the receivers have more of an upside than the running backs do. The running backs do get more touches for the most part, and they have I guess a higher probability of having a better day. But historically, especially with the way the NFL is now, the wide receivers do have a higher ceiling and a better chance of getting there because of their more big play potential. Like, yeah, if you have a running back and he's going to get 20 carries, goes for 120 yards and a touchdown with a couple of catches, yeah, that's going to put you towards the top of leaderboards if you get in the right running backs like that. But again, you can have a wide receiver that only gets 5 targets and, goes for 4 catches, 120 and a touchdown. You have a better probability because of the way the receivers play the game.
Absolutely. And, but I think, too, you have to understand the site you're playing on too. Like DraftKings, you want the guy who's going to get the 100 yards because the bonus, or you want the guys who are going to catch the passes. Derrick Henry, people aren't playing up Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is a much better play on FanDuel as he is on DraftKings because there's only half point PPR and there's no bonus for 100 yards. So a guy like I don't know, a guy like Mike Davis, who might go 70 rushing and 30 receiving, doesn't have to worry about that 3-point bonus for either one of them. And also pricing's different. James Robinson, I don't think is a great value on DraftKings, though I like the matchup, so I'm playing him a lot. On FanDuel, he was the first name I clicked in my cash games because he's so underpriced. He's only $5,900 on FanDuel when the top running backs are sitting at 10 grand. It depends upon the site you're playing. It depends upon the type of tournament. I'm going to take way more chances in the Millie Maker and get real weird with my lineups, as opposed to like this lineup that's on the screen is going in the Millie Maker. Once we go off the air, I'm just going to click it and submit it because I want to win $1 million, but I don't expect to build my bankroll through that game. I'm building my bankroll through my cash lineup, which is why I spend so much time on it. And again, one of the reasons we moved the time of our show up an hour back is so we can be done at 12, because that's when a lot of these lower field tournaments get released. And I want our members to enter those tournaments. I want to be able to figure out how best to attack those tournaments in our Slack chat. And selfishly, I want to enter those tournaments. And I don't want to have to do it at, 12:55. I want to have that hour to figure it out because we want to make money too. And so I think that's important to find those tournaments and then go attack those tournaments. Gouda, we got a couple minutes left and we're going to outro this and call it a day. Do you have any last minute advice for everyone before I send us home?
Yeah, well, just make sure that if you're playing, tournaments, whether they are shorter fields, larger fields, make sure you have as much correlation as you can. Correlation that makes sense, of course. Make sure that you're grabbing your shares of Mostert and Myles Gaskin. I really like Antonio Gibson. I love his skill set. I mean, if he's going to be a 3-down back there and they're going to give him a bigger workload and plays more on third down, his $5,900 is criminally underpriced. He should really be closer to $7,000 on DraftKings. So make sure you get some exposure there. And then, as we touched on, the easiest way to get contrarian today in a build with quality guys is paying up at wide receiver. Don't forget about the DK Metcalfs. Don't forget about Justin Jefferson. I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to have a really big game today in that high total. He'll probably be a little more chalky, but still, Hopkins I feel like is a guy that's been overlooked. And also to get some of Adam Thielen. We didn't really touch on him. I mean, I love Adam Thielen in this spot today. I mean, my Viking stacks, for the most part, it's been Cousins, Jefferson, and Thielen. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. If the Bengals offense is going to do anything today, those 3 guys are going to go off as well. You could see some real fireworks there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to definitely try to be a little bit different. You don't need just the 1%ers, right? You can have a bunch of 5%ers. 8%ers is just look at that cumulative roster percentage. Try to get somewhere between 90% and 130%, 135%, and you're going to be fine. You just don't want 200%. You don't want everyone over 40%. In your team, you don't need a bunch of 1% guys. And, remember, we're about building bankrolls. $1 million is great. Enter your Millie Makers, but build a bankroll through cash games and through low field, single or 3 max entry tournaments. I would rather win $100 on a $3 entry than make, $10 because I'm in cash the Millie Maker. Like, good for me. Yeah. And I'll take my shots, but that's not how I'm building. I didn't build my bankroll in baseball that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a big thing too. I mean, it's the ROI. So if you're entering a $3 contest and you win $100 because you came in the top five, I mean, you're going 30x on your money. That's a damn good
Yep.
return. Now, yes, I
Damn
mean,
good.
if you had the bankroll that you were playing a $1,000 entry tournament and you 30x your money because there's 500 people in it, well, yeah, that's nice too. But if you're at the lower bankroll, turning $3 into $100 is not a bad day at the office. It really isn't.
The more you build your bankroll, the better more chances you could take at the Millie Maker. This isn't pat myself on the back time, but I built my bankroll doing small field entries in baseball this summer, so I had money to play in football. My bankroll is up 4 times what it was. I started, it's up 4 times what it was on June 5th when I moved to New York and could legally play again. Made 4 times my money. I know, it's freaking great. I made 4 times my money. So now what am I able to do today? I'm able to play a bigger cash game. I'm able to take more shots at the Millie Maker, the $5 Millie Maker, which is great. I was able to enter more qualifiers as the summer went on to earn free tickets to things. And I'm able to take more shots at the smaller field entries. I have more to do that because I played those smaller fields, build the bankroll, take out the big money. Maybe one day you do win the million or 10,000, 50,000 or 120,000. Yeah. So make sure content selection is great. If you have questions about that, jump in the Slack chat. It's all part of our membership. $3.99 a week. Over at Bankster DFS, we cover every sport, major, minor, niche, college, whatever it is. Not minor leagues, but minor isn't less popular. Daily articles, player pools, Slack chat, and videos, and for $4, like just the ability to talk to us and figure out tell me more about this tournament. What tournaments are you choosing? I'll go through exactly what I'm playing with you in our Slack chat. It's not too late now. Pop in now. We got an hour before lock. At banksterdfs.com/subscribe. Under $4 a week. Can't beat it. There's no hidden costs. And please don't forget to, when you subscribe with us, as long as you don't cancel your membership, even if our prices go up, your price never will. Whatever you at is what you stay at, as long as you stay continually with us. Can't beat it for $4 a week. Gouda, it's been a pleasure, my man. Let's do this. Let's win some money. It is good. I can't wait to see the green screens, and we'll do this again next Sunday, 10:30 a.m. And but you can get more Gouda, folks, at Bankster DFS with our MLB heat maps. We hit them every single day. We're still doing baseball. John's in the Slack chat right now talking baseball for that Major League Baseball. So check us out, banksterdfs.com. We will see you next week. Bye.